Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the City Council meeting on Monday, April the 7th, 2025. Individuals interested in participating in this evening's meeting were eligible to register online using the delegation registration form at www.kitchener.ca/delegation or via email at delegation@kitchener.ca. Any written comments received prior to the commencement of today's meeting will be circulated prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. The meeting live stream and archived videos are available at www.kitchener.ca/watchnow. Before we begin this evening's meeting, I'd like to acknowledge that this evening we're gathering on the traditional territory of the Neutral, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize our responsibility to serve as stewards for the land and honor the original caretakers who came before us. Our community is enriched by the enduring knowledge and deep-rooted traditions of the diverse First Nations, Métis, and Inuit in Kitchener today. And now I'd like to invite those who are able to stand for the singing of our national anthem. Thank you very much. On motion by Councillor Johnson, the minutes of the regular meeting held March 3rd, 2025, and the special meetings held February 10th and 24th, and March 13th and 17th, as mailed to the Mayor and Councillors, be accepted. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? There being none, and there are no communications referred to file, we'll now move on to a presentation from Tree Cities of the World and a recognition program that the city is a recipient of. And I'd now like to invite Josh Shea forward to present on the recognition.
Thank
Welcome,
you,
Mr. Shea.
Mayor Urbanovic and members of council. I'm pleased to be here tonight to share with you the announcement or the award that the City of Kitchener has been designated as a Tree City of the World. As part of this designation, we are now one of 210 cities across the world to be designated with this title, one of 41 to be designated in 2024. So we're announcing it now, but it was approved in 2024. And we're one of 21 cities in Canada to receive this designation. As part of this, there's been 3 million trees planted as part of this program and over 250 million people engaged. In order to be designated as a Tree City of the World, we have to meet 5 core criteria. Those are established responsibility for trees. So we have a team and we designate authority to look after trees. We set the rules. We have bylaws, policies, practices, and targets in order to guide us forward. We know what we have. We have an understanding of our resources and our inventory. We have a strategy in which we're working towards or working with. We're able to allocate the resources necessary to take care of these resources in terms of our budgets and our leadership and our council support. And we're able to celebrate and look forward to educating, engaging, acknowledging this designation with our community. As part of this program, it wouldn't be possible without the team that works on our urban forest, including our technical professionals who plan and look after designating where trees are planted and how trees are cared for, our certified arborist team who does the maintenance to keep trees alive and keep trees growing, as well as our seasonal staff that water our trees, the newly trees that we plant in the summer. So as part of that, it wouldn't be possible without that group of people taking care of trees. The second criteria is being able to set the rules to govern resources. So this is part of having tree management policies to look after trees in new development, existing trees in current developments and current projects. We have tree bylaws, 2 of which are being reviewed this year and be coming forward to council in 2025, our public tree bylaw and our private tree bylaw. And then we more recently in 2022, council designated a tree canopy target, something to work towards across the city. So our current canopy is 27%, and we're working towards achieving a 30% tree canopy coverage per ward by 2050 and a 33% citywide tree canopy target by 2070. So as part of those achievements, help us achieve this designation. Part of our program as well is knowing what resources we have in order to be able to take care of them and steward them. So we have a tree inventory, and we've completed 2 different inventories, one in 2009 and one more recently in 2021, which essentially goes and looks at and measures and evaluates each tree to understand its condition and its structure, to be able to take care of it. We have over 75,000 trees, including trees on our streets and trees in our parks, as well as 3,500 hectares of natural area property that we look after and care, all of which make up our urban forest. The Sustainable Urban Forest Strategy is guiding us forward to manage those resources as we work towards implementing 15 key recommendations as part of that important work. Most critical is being able to have the resources to be able to do this work, and so that's a collaborative effort between council, our community, and city staff, and it's reflective of probably 10 years before today as to where we got to be where we are to be able to achieve this designation in terms of being able to have budget support to implement our program and take care of the trees and plant the trees that we look after. We have city staff and staff before myself and staff before our group, many of which you may know. David Schmidt was our first urban forestry staff member, teaching many of us about urban forestry at that time. We have Heina Kovacs, our current project manager, looking after a lot of our initiatives and carrying things forward, so we couldn't do that without them. And then we have the community driving this program forward. It's their interest and their passion that keeps us going forward and keeps us making good decisions to support trees in our community. And lastly, part of this designation is celebrating the acknowledgement, celebrating trees, educating people about trees in our community. We have a couple new initiatives, a Trees at Kitchener email where we can have people reaching out to us to answer questions, so we can answer questions, keep them informed, engage the community. We have a Forestry Fridays program where we have a Q&A with staff trying to help educate and inform people about trees, about how we care for them, about the work that we do. We also have long-standing Kitchener's Natural Areas program going on for over 15 years now, where it's a voice for urban nature. And more recently, we have a community canopy program where we're planting trees in low canopy communities and launched that program last year and continue with that program this year and going forward. And ultimately, the way to celebrate this is we're having a free tree giveaway where we're giving away 210 trees to residents in Kitchener who want to register, and we're hosting that on Saturday, May 3rd. So that's a culmination of a lot of things that have come together. We appreciate the support of council. We look forward to delivering on this going forward.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations to the entire team who has provided a lot of leadership and I guess we can also say sweat equity in terms of looking after our trees and our tree canopy throughout the community. I think this is a wonderful recognition of for our community, particularly when we consider that it's also Earth Day later this month, and no better time to be actually learning about this. We do have a number of members of council that like to either have some questions or make some comments, and I'll start with you, Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. More question, comment kind of combined, but Josh, again, as the Mayor has already said, congratulations to you and your team. I think this is great recognition of the tremendous work, of course, our Forestry Division does, and at the same time, I think a strong collaborative approach that we have had with our residents. I think A big part of our tree canopy is also on private land. Residents who are, stakeholders in, preserving a great environment for the rest of the community. So, as we educate and inform, we have to bring that community along with. I like the Venn diagram. That's council, community, and staff. And I think that's where we need to continue on that approach and supporting a community where we're almost kind of incentivizing, but also encouraging strongly of private homeowners to plant on their lands, especially in their new subdivisions, right? The sad part is the lots are smaller, but that's not to say that they still can't have more tree coverage. We're quite blessed with inbuilt parts of our city, but you see the differentiation between green development and what's in our core and our existing suburbs. So whatever we can do to broaden the tree canopy there, I think the focus needs to be. But again, congratulations on the recognition. Just I think for staff, and we always get these awards. One thing that we really need to do is start taking a little bit more pride in the achievements of our staff and the commitment of this council and the various different awards that we win. I think we need to promote it on our website. The first thing on the landing page should be, what has Kitchener been recognized for? And I think we do that? Like a recent thing? No, I don't think. Huh? Oh, you're agreeing, okay, all right. You criticize me too often, so I get scared as soon as you chime in. I'm like, what do they do now? So I think that's something that we need to start taking stock up, right? So this is a tremendous recognition, but the great work and investment that this community is investing into, and I think we need to start promoting it, the various different awards that we do. Because I was looking at our website, awards of recognition, we promote all the awards that we give out, but we're not really recognizing all the awards that we're receiving as well. Thanks.
Great comment, Councillor Singh. Thank you for that. Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you and congratulations to your entire team. And I'll say that on behalf of Ward 8 as well. I know that we have so many people in the ward that care so much about our urban forest. And I know that our friends of Lakeside Park, Josh, you're a super fan, or they're a super fan of yours. I will say that you've been working really, really careful, not carefully, but conscientiously with the neighborhood there for quite some time. For our Forest Hill neighborhood, Westmount, Maple Hill, and I just wanted to say a huge thank you. I know that Dave Schmidt, before you, would go out and help people with their very large maple trees in Westmount to keep them healthy. So I'm excited to see this recognition, and I think getting this recognition means that we'll keep working hard to continue to be getting this recognition in the future. So it's really great, and congratulations to you and your team.
Thank you, Councillor Johnson. Councillor Michaud, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to congratulate the entire team for a remarkable body of work that you've done over the years. It's funny that this is happening tonight, because today I was walking my dog around one of the parks in Ward 4, and this particular park had like full-grown trees, and I remember when they were planted, I think probably 25 years ago, and how much they've grown. And I actually thought about the amount of work that the City of Kitchener does to make sure we have a robust tree canopy in many areas as we can. And Josh, I want to personally thank you for the work that you do when you're planting trees on boulevards and trying to keep all the neighbors happy with the choice of tree they're getting, and you do a great job of that. And I witnessed it, I think it was last summer, the summer before, when the trees were being planted, and I think that everyone came out, quite content with the way it was. So again, congratulations. It certainly is a well-deserved award.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Michaud. Councillor Chapman, you're up next.
Yes, am I turned on? Yeah, sorry. Thank you, and thank you for the work that you do, and for congratulations for getting this award. I just had a request. Can you elaborate a bit further on the community tree opportunity, the free trees, just to let people know where they could get that free tree or get on the list for one, etc.? Thank you.
Sure, yeah. Information will be available on the city's website, kitchener.ca/trees. There'll be a sign-up form where you can sign up to select a tree species that you'd like to plant in your backyard or your front yard. And then once we have all the registration, we will order the trees and have the giveaway day at the Kitchener Operations Facility where people can come pick up the tree, pick up some mulch, and then go home and plant that tree. So that's coming up on Saturday, May 3rd.
Wonderful. Thank you, Councillor Chapman. Councillor Schneider, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor, and congratulations. It's a total team effort, and I want to thank you and your team for coming up with great programs and plans that make it easy for council to support. I'm a big fan of our forestry team. I know when our forestry team are out on streets and residential areas doing the tree trimming, they have all the neighborhood tree experts coming out and watching them do their job. And it's always rewarding to hear comments afterwards like, wow, I couldn't even tell they were here. They didn't leave a twig behind. So it's great work there. I want to thank your team too for the great tree celebration day that we had in October at Laurentian Park. And Ms. Kovacs, we had a great discussion there, and it's just so exciting seeing like the genuine enthusiasm that this team has for what they do. Seeing, citizens could come out and see the equipment, talk to the people that did the work. It was so friendly, it was so exciting, having reaped there as well to see the benefit of the tree canopy. So that was a great celebration. And, I go back to one of my favorite times of the year is Christmas, and I just absolutely love it when we get the Christmas tree in Carl's Air Square and Gaukel Block, and the team that puts that together and all the excitement behind that, I think it's really cool. So great thanks to you and your team, and congratulations on this well-deserved award.
Thank you very much, Councillor Schneider. And last up, we have Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a love fest for our forestry department, and rightfully deserved. I actually had a meet and greet 2 weeks ago, and one of the comments from one of the residents who was at the meeting, talked about the arborists and talked about the crew that came out, and like Councillor Schneider said, that he was amazed at the cleanup, that you couldn't even tell they were there, and that's coming right out of the babe's mouth. And so kudos to your team. But from my end, I just want to say thank you for your patience with some of the requests and questions that come in from our constituents. The patience you have and the education, Josh and Jeffrey as well, that you've shown to some pretty intensive requests or questions or concerns has been remarkable, and we're lucky that we have such a dedicated team that actually care about the well-being of all of our constituents. And so again, great job, and thank you again.
Well, thank you very much, Councillor Deneau, and I think I'm supposed to come up there now, but yes, I just want to once again thank staff. I think as Councillor Schneider indicated, certainly we know that trees are something that our residents are very passionate about, and certainly keep an eye on, and it's certainly appreciative to hear not only of the great things that the team regularly does, but also to see the team being recognized as you were with this award. That's just a temporary one. The original version's actually already preserved in the Kitchener Library of Congress. Maybe we'll call it something else, actually, other than the Library of Congress these days. Okay, thank you. We'll move on to delegations. And I think I'm missing my usual paragraph on delegations. All I'm going to do is remind all of the delegations to be nice, don't say anything controversial. You get 5 minutes to make your presentation, and you get spared the whole message I normally give. We are just going to squeeze one delegation in first, and that's John Boone from the Songscape Music Festival. Mr. Boone is actually only here to ask questions if there are any of council, but otherwise, Councillor Stretch, I believe this is in your ward. Do you care to move it?
Sure.
Okay. Moved by Councillor Stretch, seconded by Councillor Deneau. Any discussion? I'll just say, thank you to Mr. Boone and his team for, I know they've been working diligently with our team at the auditorium to get this festival together. It's obviously a whole lot of work that needed to happen because it's the first year you're bringing this event to the community, and hopefully not the last year. But the Songscape Music Festival will take place on Friday, January 20th and Saturday, June 21st. And it'll be held at the Kitchener Memorial Auditorium parking lot on those days. It promises to be a busy weekend because it also happens to be Neighbours Day weekend and also Multicultural Festival weekend. So there'll be lots to do in the city of Kitchener. So it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. That's been approved. Thank you. Good luck. Okay, we'll now move on to item 6.1, the museum models for consideration, and I want to welcome John Durden and Pejman Saleh forward I guess staff is doing, Andrea, Ms. Hallam, you're making a presentation first? Welcome.
Okay, good evening,
We'll let you
Mayor and
start.
Council. As you recall, a year ago, the museum approached the city with a request for emergency funding, expressing concern about their ability to operate past June 30th, 2024. Council approved this funding, and this allowed the museum to continue to deliver their programs and events to the community, but also to reevaluate their operating model. Like many cultural organizations in Canada, the COVID-19 pandemic impacted attendance numbers and operating funding. We are also currently facing challenges in our downtown with the loss of office traffic and the current global economic uncertainty. Over the past year, city staff and the museum board have worked alongside one another to explore different operating models to achieve greater financial sustainability. Staff's role was to facilitate this discussion, guide the process, ask questions, and probe where necessary. This report outlines the work that was undertaken and ultimately a series of recommendations for a path forward to financial stability. The museum developed 5 models through this process. Staff then probed and asked questions, narrowing it down to 3 models, and then underwent thorough analysis and financial modeling by the museum. It was the conclusion of the museum that reducing costs would lead to further financial loss. Staff, however, have encouraged the museum to look at keeping expense increases at or below 3%. Staff are supportive of a 3-year investment for the museum to increase their earned revenue and non-governmental funding by an additional $600,000 annually to where they no longer need the extra funding. Unlike previous funding requests, we are proposing a higher level of accountability through a written agreement, financial reporting, KPIs, and a council and city staff presence on the board of the museum directors. By supporting the museum over the next 3 years, this will in turn support the downtown, a major cultural institution, and local tourism. Representatives from the museum will now give a short presentation, and they will be happy to answer any questions you may have, as will staff. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Andrea. And if I can now invite Mr. Durden and Mr. Salehi forward again. Welcome, welcome, gentlemen. And Pejman, I also understand congratulations is in order, or empathy, if nothing else, as I understand you've taken on additional responsibilities at Conestoga College. Okay, gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you. So, we have the presentation. We don't. Oh, okay. Members of Council and Mayor Vranovic, good evening. My name is Pejman Salehi, and together with our friend John Durden and our CEO and other members of our board, we are here to present to you this proposal that we worked together with the staff. As Andrea mentioned, we had weekly meetings over a year, and we had monthly reports to the mayor and CAO, and the vision was to come up with a sustainable model for the future of the museum in a thriving downtown. The direction was to increase growth and renewal, increasing the daily and evening foot traffic in downtown, and providing accessible and affordable family attraction in heart of the city and the region. We want to ensure also it would provide a stage for arts groups and ethnic and social celebrations of all kinds. As we know, we have a very diverse demographic in the city. And as Andrea mentioned, that we had 5 models and we narrowed it down to 1. Before going to the model and our proposal, I want to just take a quick minute to talk about our impact for the community. We believe that museum is an anchor destination for the downtown businesses. We serve a diverse and growing community. There's some numbers you've seen a slide. I'm not going to go through them one by one, but before the pandemic, we reached to the 100,000 visitors annually. Unfortunately, it was jeopardized by the pandemic. And since 2020, 66% of our visitors are from Kitchener. We have 6,000 school visits from different schools, which 44% of those visitors are from the cities, from the schools of the Kitchener. We have 60% of our exhibitions features local artists and significant collaboration with local organizations within the region. We view this as a place that Oz inspires, enlightens, educates families, adults, and visitors and tourists, and bringing somewhere between $2.5 million to $3.5 million in economic benefits annually. And this number goes beyond this during the times that we have blockbuster exhibitions. Now, what we're asking is an investment from this council for a 3-year additional $300,000 in operating grants for sustainability and growth. As mentioned, it's going to be our model is going to be reviewed annually, and we're going to welcome 2 new members to the board, one from the council and one from the city staff. What this would do in terms of return on investment, we return to 100,000 visitors and attendance to downtown core, which brings up to or above $3 million in annual tourist spending. It's a unique family attraction that we're going to sustain this unique asset for the city of Kitchener. And we're going to bring world-class exhibitions, which normally is common in larger cities, and in general, make the city a smarter community, maintain and attract talent to the city, and make sure that people stay and want to love this community as their home. And we view this as council's legacy for arts and culture in a thriving community that we call Kitchener. With that, I pass it to John.
Thanks, Pejman. Just to continue on that theme, we see ourselves as an integral partner in the Kitchener community, a made in Kitchener unique spot for people to attend. We're ready for the 1 million people in the region, and we continue to want to serve the various diverse voices and cultures in the city, and believe that this investment will allow us to continue to do that. We see this as a strategic operating investment. This allows us to diversify and increase our revenue base to create long-term sustainability, ensure that we can continue with what we do now and grow our audiences as well. serving various sectors, including allowing for various free admission strategies and rental rates for not-for-profit groups, et cetera. This also gives us 3 years of predictable cash flow. Finally, I just want to make sure that you're aware that the board of the museum is committed to this strategy. We want to ensure that we can achieve ongoing revenue growth and manage our expenses. We're looking to develop a succession plan to grow and diversify the board, and also will, as part of this process, there's a need for a succession plan for our CEO, who I think wants to retire at some point. So finally, we see ourselves as part of a plan to revitalize and continue the revitalization of the downtown core, and we will look to acquire additional non-municipal government support to sustain our future. And with that, I think we're out of time, so thank you.
Okay, well, thank you to both of you, and to the others who are here from the museum organization. We do have some questions for you, and we'll start with you, Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, gentlemen, for coming in today. So I guess one of my first questions is, what's going to be different over these next 3 years compared to, let's say, the last 2 years? Like, what is the museum going to do different to attract new visitors and new, a new audience to the space?
So one of the things that the $300,000 that's, assuming you approve it, is it's guaranteed. So that allows us to say we have those funds in the door, and the plan is to invest in people who can grow our marketing and development side to raise revenues from earned revenues and from donor communities that are non-municipal, not necessarily, and other non-regional government sources, as well as corporate donations. So we see having these funds will allow us to hire some additional staff to generate these additional revenues that we're looking for.
Okay. But I guess my question is, outside of looking for extra money and extra dollars and sponsorship, what's the museum going to do differently over the next 3 years with the space you have compared to what you've done for the last couple of years? Like, you can hire staff that, as much as you want, but that doesn't change the fact that the space is maybe underutilized or the right programming's come in. So what's going to change over the next 3 years? Because this is a lot of money. This is a lot of money for people who are having a hard time right now in their community. And so I need to be able to explain to them what is going to change in the next 3 years.
Thank you. If I may, I don't think our programming model is broken. We do believe it's a revenue issue. And as John said, research has showed over and over we don't have enough marketing dollars. We've invested $500,000 of our own money, $35,000 from the city to create iPool, and we don't have enough money to market it, as example. That can drive a huge number of people.
Okay.
I also want to mention in terms of having the predictability in terms of what we can just bring in terms of more and more attractions. That also helps us that if you're not looking everything year to year, so we can just plan a little bit in advance. That also just gives us to be able to just plan ahead of time, bring more type of exhibitions that just creates more attraction for, and essentially provide essential service for the people at downtown and city of Kitchener.
Okay. Thank you for that answer. You one of you gentlemen mentioned that the economic benefit could be $1.5 to $3.5 million economic spinoff. But you also mentioned that 44% of your visitors are students. And so am I led to believe that 56% of the non-student visitors are $1.5 to $3.5 million of economic spinoff?
No. It was we in terms of stats, we said 6,000 visitors annually from students, and from that 6,000, 44% are students from the Kitchener. That was the percentage that I mentioned.
So the 44% is, we bring in 6,000 students region-wide, 44% from
From the
Kitchener.
city of Kitchener.
So it's not 44% of our overall visitors
Yes, yeah.
are students. It's the percentage of Kitchener students that we're serving.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the questions asked by my colleague. Before I ask mine, and as others ask theirs, I do want to point out that this is not necessarily an avenue, but we're critiquing the museum in its operating model, or, just the work that you guys have done in a downtown core in animating the space and enriching young minds. I think that's without question, there's no argument towards that. There's a lot of appreciation for all the work that has come in to create and carry on an animated space there. But again, the concern really lies, and and that's why I said I don't have any disagreement with the questions asked, is how do we ensure the long-term sustainability of this enterprise? Because this model is only a 3-year endowment, $300,000 each, which is a significant investment for a city our size. Beyond the student population, what's the total intake of visitors to the museum?
So we were at about 100,000 prior to COVID, and we're knocking on the door of about 80,000 now. And north of 30% of that is from outside the region, which goes to the economic development piece. So the money we would invest in marketing would just drive more attendance generally. The other two pieces in development and hiring of staff, when we did have more staff in development, it was the highest years of our development. What we're missing right now is individual giving and sponsorship.
Yeah.
To Pageman's point, if we can plan out 2 years, we can bring in exhibits that we wouldn't normally afford and be able to secure sponsors as well. And then the third one is just sales generally, and then specifically special events, bringing more people downtown.
So no question, COVID has changed a lot of dynamics, especially for not-for-profits, even in the arts community. So when it was before COVID, pre-COVID, 100,000 plus, what was the general financial position of the museum at that point?
We have, since day one, always had a deficit. Before any of us were there, let me put it as positively as we can, we're the only not-for-profit that has to generate 80% of our revenues to put on the type of programming that we put on to drive the number of people downtown that we do.
Okay. Look, I'm hearing that more support needs to be given. That's the only way that you guys are going to survive the next 3 years. But also, again, I'm really pushing on the sustainability of the museum going into perpetuity. That's a really phenomenal space. And coming back to the commitment of this council, of this community to the museum goes far beyond what's being given right now as a grant. I think we do the capital maintenance of the building. There's a $1 rent charge for, I think it's a lot of square footage there. I don't know the exact amount, probably 10,000 plus square footage, and that's $1. So there's a lot more being given already, as per se. Because that space, the way it's built, how much or how well are you guys leveraging towards apart from the museum experience, but event space, rentals, so we bring more bodies into the museum that may come for a different reason that's personal, but would come back over and over again once they've entered into the building itself?
I mean, I can just, there's rarely a Friday or Saturday evening that there isn't some type of special event that we put on or that we rent. On Saturday night, we had about 90 scouts overnight, sleeping overnight, and with their parents and so on. On Thursday night, we had a high school grad party, a dance, and so on. So there's always activity, almost, as I say, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. We're working to bring in Sunday jazz music, like the Jazz Room in Waterloo. We're working with somebody locally to launch that in the lounge area. But there's a lot of activity, and maybe we don't do a good enough job to let people
Okay,
know.
so more can be done then?
I'm sorry?
More can be done?
Yeah, definitely we can do more,
good.
but there is a capacity issue at some level.
Just in my 33 seconds, I'll ask one last question. I'll see if I can swing by, but others might ask some of my other questions. Can I get a commitment that you guys will present to council on an annual basis for the next 3 years, the very least? You guys have done that in the past, where during budget time, a reporting was done, so we can be constantly in the know of the transition and some of the commitments that are being expressed.
Absolutely. Yeah, we welcome the opportunity, in fact.
Okay. I hope that staff will coordinate, and that would be an annual thing that this council will get to hear, and the community will get to hear.
And if I could just say, our board very much welcomes a councillor and a staff person on our board to understand and see what we deal with and how we operate.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor. In the revenue projections, you've got non-government development. Is that corporate sponsorship?
It's donors. It's all non-governmental. Yeah, it's all non-governmental.
I'm just trying to get to the numbers, but.
Yeah. So, looking here, like there's on the Model 1 assumptions, non-government development of
Right, yeah.
$427,550.
So that's right. So that's individual donations and corporate sponsorship, et cetera.
Okay, so that's, to me, seems a bit high, like 20% of the budget would come from that. Are you feeling that is achievable with the current state of affairs in the world and our community?
20% of I mean, again, the part of the concept is to invest in people to generate that revenue. You're right. It's a scary time. Hopefully, we can achieve that. But there's no guarantees in the current economic climate. But we think we're a deserving institution, and we can sell ourselves to various corporate and individual givers.
Okay.
And if I could, Dave, with one person generating the development area, notwithstanding the municipal funding, about $500,000 plus, a second person, now it will take a year or two to ramp it up, but hopefully, not hopefully, we believe that they can cover their salary in the first year, and then over time they may not get to that 500,000, but they might get to 100,000 or 200,000, and then with the marketing dollars to drive the gate and so on, we can close that $300,000 gap.
Okay, so the marketing dollars, just so I'm not confused here, is that going to go to this person that would try and get the sponsorships?
Not the
Or is that just pure marketing?
There's pure marketing, and then also we have a development staff member, which is going to directly be responsible for that line.
Okay. And one of the things I'm trying to get a full understanding of is that under the detailed annual attendance, there's gate admissions, and in 2023-24, that was 18,743. So what are is that like the people that paid to get into an exhibition?
That's pure admission, coming up, buying a ticket. Everybody who comes to the museum pays in some way.
Yeah.
If it's a rental, they're paying through the rental. If it's student, they're paying. So students and rental revenue is not in the number that you've mentioned, but everybody in some way pays.
Okay. I'm jumping around here just a little bit. In the Model 3, you say you would have to switch to only family-oriented experiences. Why would that be?
I'd have to remind myself if Model 3 was that closing the fourth floor? It was
Yeah.
closing the fourth floor, so that would almost default us to go to our core visitor, and not change the exhibition on the third floor very, very often and really appeal to that. It's a spiral downward because we couldn't grow the demographic as much as we'd like, especially with the changing demographic downtown and so on. We can bring on not just mac and cheese events and so on, but we can bring on curry events and shawarma events and those types of things to grow with the community, the 1 million ready.
Okay, I may cue back in later, but good for now.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Davey.
Hi, gentlemen. Thank you for your presentation. Just a couple questions regarding the funding. When Kitchener approved the funding previously, one of the conditions was that you approach the region of Waterloo with the dire situation that you were in, and you approached them. And how much more money did they agree to give you?
I'm trying to recall the sequence, but the answer is no more money. We're at the 2016 level there. And we did approach the City of Waterloo with some direct meetings, and they've increased by a percentage a little bit as they do most years.
And the region of Waterloo gives you about $385,000 a year. The City of Kitchener and the City of Waterloo, to their credit, has included a growth allocation because we live in a reality of inflation. Does the region of Waterloo give you a growth allocation?
Do they give us
A growth.
A growth allocation. Does it go up every year?
It's been flat since 2016.
Since 2016. And as we all know, inflation's gone up. So effectively, without that additional support, that in real dollars, that's less money. What is your confidence level in the region of Waterloo supporting you going forward? Have they been clear that they will support you into any, that we're looking at a 3-year term here? Have they made any commitments in terms of how long into the future they will support you?
I don't know what the answer to that is. They are reviewing things right now. I mean, I don't know if Andrea has any insight into that, but they're under a review right now with the KCIs, the Key Cultural Institutions, and I'm not sure when that report comes out. But we're all waiting to see what they have to say.
Okay, actually, I'll have questions, separate questions of staff after Mr. Mayor. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for coming in. I was just wondering if you've been working with the BIA and other organizations, maybe in the downtown core, to try and diversify or bring in different shows or new shows, or like, are there any partnerships that you've developed or created locally?
Yeah, well, as I'm sure you all recall, the wonderful BIA presentation of music that we had for free, free for attendees to come in, and we had several nights of that, and that was wonderful, and it filled us to capacity through those nights. And we work with Linda at the BIA where we can. There's a number of other community groups that we're working with, a number of different groups, from 60-piece orchestras to school type groups and so on. So we do our best to, one of our pillars is to be a community stage, and that's very much what we try to do in part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Deneau, second round.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Quick question. In the past, have you had any corporate sponsorships on board? Like significant corporate sponsorship?
Sure. I mean, we've, BMO was a corporate sponsor who provided $100,000 a year over 5 years. Christie Digital has been a supporter. So there have been significant supporters.
And at this point in time, do you have any? Or are they relatively minor?
Yes, we're supported. We continue to be supported by BMO, sort of on an annual basis from time to time, and annually KPMG and Gowling support us. Christie Digital helped us significantly when we built out the iPool with the 14 projectors and so on. There's a number of smaller corporate entities, but the challenge is that the opportunity is there if we have somebody writing proposals, opening doors for me to get in there to try to cheerlead and so on, and show them the benefits that they can enjoy. And to be quite honest, there was a lot of negative impact when we went through this with you last year. People started to cancel rentals and memberships dropped and so on. If there's good news tonight, corporations will want to be part of that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Janot. Councillor Davey. Round two for you as well.
Questions of staff?
Not yet.
Okay. Oh, sorry, just one quick question. Sorry, just wanted to clarify, just on the growth allocation as well. I want to confirm, from the report, it looks like there's been no, I don't know if it's just in the report or if this is actual going backwards, but it looks like there's been no growth allocation from your federal or provincial allocations as well. Is that correct, going backwards?
It's not core funding, so it's one-off. Any given year, it can be high or low depending on what programs that they offer, but there's no core funding. The only core funding is from the municipalities you've mentioned.
Okay, thank you.
So for the modeling, we assumed the one base level that we have there. It could go up or down, but we're hoping it will go up.
Can you just, sorry, just so to help me going, can you comment in general terms going forward, like, or looking back, is it generally, like, is it stable? Is it generally going up, or is it, I know I said it goes up and down, but if you can just sort of give me an anecdotal understanding of the past, is this a funding source that you think is going to be stable, or is it going to go down, or potentially lower?
I mean, I think generally it's getting tougher at the federal level. The province actually has been quite good to us. There was obviously good funding from both coming out of COVID. I was in Toronto to meet with OCAF, the Ontario Cultural Arts Fund, last week, and we're talking about reigniting with them. They've helped us out every 2 years, which is a prerequisite, or can only happen every 2 years. So again, having that extra person looking for grants, allowing our person to look for grants, and then the new person focusing on individual giving, I think that's a piece we've really been missing. And if I may, I also will free up some of my time to try to get shared resources happening with other cultural groups. That's something that really we could all be saving tens of thousands of dollars if we were working together and sharing development people and sharing marketing people and so on.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you. I just do have some questions of staff at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davey. Those appear to be all the council questions. I have a couple myself. One, I recall as we were dealing with this issue about a year ago, there were a number of historic supporters back from the Children's Museum days and the Museum Day and so on that were advocating for funding for the museum through a one-page ad that was in the newspaper. Have you or will you, some of them are foundations and historical donors, have you or will you be reaching out to them as part of your going forward vision if these dollars are approved this evening to see about their ongoing engagement? Because clearly they seem to have an interest and support in the organization.
Most definitely, and as recently as this morning, I was talking to a number of them on a chain email. I mean, some of the foundations are consistent with us, like the Holman Foundation and the Community Foundation and so on, but some of those original founders and funders tend to not want to give to operating any longer, but to help us grow. So that could lead us, that could help us going to them knowing that you've done what you've done, that they may replace some of your funding going forward for the development person and that type of thing. That's what I will approach them on, but don't tell them.
Okay, we won't tell them. The other question I have is, as I reflect on the student numbers and so on, that certainly is something that I think is really important to continue to grow, because one of the things we know is that when people are young, we want to socialize them to exposure to arts and culture, because if they're socialized at a young age, it's more likely that they will continue to invest in that in the future. Is there a plan to, and I understand, part of the challenge is school boards don't have the resources necessarily anymore to tackle some of those things, but has there been some thought given to an approach or a strategy that might make that possible to more young people, going forward in the next while, particularly when we consider the fact that a lot of families are going to be struggling, and this may be potentially in the next while because of the tariff situation, and this will give us an opportunity to provide some arts and culture experiences. Has there been any thought given into
Yes,
that?
we've been testing that with the one impediment is busing. That our pricing is not that much of an issue with most schools. It's the busing costs that has become the issue. So working with sponsors, I neglected to mention this before, there's an insurance company. There's been a couple of foundations and insurance companies that have allowed us to have about 30 or 40 school buses that we can allocate, and that would definitely be a strategy for that development person to find sponsorship to get school busing for free for students.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you to all four of you who are here from the board and for making from the board and staff for making your presentation this evening. So we'll now take questions of staff.
Could I just quickly say, thank the staff who we worked with almost weekly for the last year, including Corey, who's not here, and to yourself and Dan, who was monthly that we met with, and appreciate your consideration and your funding of last year that allowed us to get to this point. Thank you all very, very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, moving on to questions of staff, and Councillor Davey, you're first in the queue.
Thank you. Following from my questions of the delegation, my concern really is what happens if, primarily the region does not follow through on their funding in future years. So I guess the first question I would ask of staff is, we're looking at a 3-year agreement here. What happens if the region pulls funding as early as this next budget?
Okay, Councillor, Ms. Hallam.
Through the chair, we are currently in talks with the region about reviewing the KCI funding process, so that's an ongoing process. The region is reevaluating all of its grant funding at the moment, so it's uncertain. It's status quo this year. They did receive their KCI funding this year. So it's an ongoing process. So hopefully, because we're involved with these conversations, we will be able to know sooner rather than later if there is any changes.
So should council agree to what's before us today, is our funding tied to the region agreeing to their funding? Or is there an exit clause if they decide next year that the region decides they're not going to fund, then our funding is pulled as well?
Through the chair, I do believe that in the report under the possibilities for agreements, that with our agreement, there is an option, there is an exit clause that we would include in the agreement with the museum that would allow the city to revisit the funding commitment if other funding.
So we'd be allowed to revisit the funding if other funding changes? Is that?
I do believe that if there is a spot in the agreement that we have not yet. We haven't put the agreement together yet, but I do believe there was discussion that this is something that we could include if directed by council.
Mr. Chapman, you wanted to add something there?
Through the chair, just 2 points. One, it's clear in the report and the discussions with the museum that this represents the city's complete commitment over the next 3 years. So the city would not entertain a further funding increase beyond the increase that's in front of you today, regardless of the change in circumstance. And it may be better for the museum to respond, but they were clear when they were here a year ago that if they were to face a loss of funding to the tune of the region's grant, they would not be viable. And so I suspect that that has not changed, that if the region withdrew funding, it would challenge the viability of the enterprise. So certainly, we believe it's critical that the region continue its funding through the KCI program.
And I see Mr. Durndon nodding in the affirmative.
Yeah, so I guess my question then, just to protect our portion of it, how do we ensure, that if the region decides to pull funding next year, I don't, with all due respect, I don't want to use the phrase good money after bad, but I don't want to mean that the investment is wrong. I mean in the sense that if the museum's saying they're not viable, and I want to make sure our financing doesn't go to a non-viable entity if it's set to be paid shortly after the region has said no, I want to ensure that we have an exit clause for that before we.
And perhaps Andrea or Jeremy can elaborate on this, but my understanding is that this agreement is subject to annual review and the achievement of certain budget targets in general. And so a significant change in the revenue model for the museum would constitute a fundamental change in the agreement. And there is an ability, each year to review the ongoing funding in light of their financial performance.
Okay, so if that was council's direction, is that implied in the approach, that would be, if there is a sudden change in funding, that it would be reviewed, or does that need to be separate direction from council? Because I see 3-year here, and I just want to make sure that that's not something we're committing to regardless of the region's commitment.
And so through the mayor, I guess I'm not clear on what the objective is, Councillor Davey. If it's to protect the city's interests so that we're not funding a non-viable organization, that's one thing. If it's to try and essentially force the region's hand to maintain its funding commitment, that's a different thing. I guess my point would be, understanding the objective is important because it may be moot. If the museum loses regional funding, I don't think we would be in a position to continue funding because the organization would not be viable. And so we would not get to year 3 if the region were to pull funding in year 1.
And that would happen automatically, okay. So, okay.
And so the whole intent is that this is subject to annual review, and again, so perhaps Andrea can elaborate on what happens through the annual review. But if the museum is facing significant loss, is non-viable, then that would come up through the annual review before we advance funding for the subsequent year.
Okay, and the annual, and again, just to be, not to overly get into the weeds, but the annual review could be in something like February after the region's passed its budget. I'm assuming that's the...
Yeah, I'll let Andrea speak to that.
Yeah, I do believe that we had discussed quarterly financial reviews, but also just want to remind council that we would be having a council member as well as staff member attend every board meeting, so we would be able to see any financial changes or pictures happening in live time. And then also, I do believe we were looking at quarterly financial reviews and reporting in. As kind of initial benchmarks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Davey. Councillor Singh.
Yeah, thank you. In staff's ongoing work with the museum and looking at their current funding, their current operations model, obviously staff are supporting the recommendation of the increased funding and see the existing model not being sustainable, operational to keep the lights on. So, as Councillor Davey has already asked, any change in outside of funding from the City of Kitchener will still be just as detrimental to the museum. That being said, I think the question needs to be focused on is how important is a museum to this community, and that's why I want to get staff perspective. I don't want to ask the museum, they're a little biased, but I wanted to ask staff. Yeah, I'm sure you guys will be objective as possible. To create a entity as such as a museum, ballpark, what would it cost the city in initial support, or how undertaking is it to put together an organization such as a museum as it is, outside of the funding difficulties? A little bit of a big question, but still, I think it's important for us to reflect on.
Sure. Through the chair, so first of all, this is a unique organization. It's one of a kind, I would say, in Canada. So it serves quite a unique purpose. We're lucky to have an organization as unique as this in Kitchener. I think having something in the downtown also is very important, especially with what's going on right now for the economic viability of the downtown, improving foot traffic, keeping folks coming down. I also want to remind council that we will be launching a new season of city-owned, city-operated programming at the Conrad Centre for Performing Arts right next door in September. So having an organization that has its lights on with vibrant programming, bringing foot traffic downtown, will also greatly benefit the success of the Conrad Centre right next door. To answer the second half of your question, what would it cost? Staff have not yet had time or been directed to explore that, so that's something that I don't feel comfortable answering.
No, that's fine. You can preface it saying it would be beyond our capacity if he had to run an organization ourselves.
It's definitely beyond capacity of staff and current funding at the moment, absolutely.
So you spoke about the challenges in our downtown, the current economic state. Do you have any data regarding what the current vacancy rate is, or the current, the overall general mood of our downtown? We have banners behind us talking about support local, love local. What's the word on the street right now?
So through the chair, that was something that Corey Bloom would be best answering. He's not here this evening.
I think Mr. Chapman will jump in because he's overseeing some of that work as well. Mr. Chapman?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Bloom is attending an event on behalf of the city tonight. He would have been here, but he had a higher priority, and so with our support, he's there this evening. Certainly, we've seen through the pandemic a significant and persistent increase in commercial office vacancy. And so you can appreciate that before the pandemic, if we had 16,000 workers coming to the core every day, that drove a lot of activity in terms of retail and restaurant trade. And the current estimates are that we have a 27% office vacancy. And so that is, if equated to buildings, that would be a number of empty buildings in the downtown and a significant loss of downtown workers. We were fortunate, as Conestoga College's enrollment increased, to replace some of that with vibrancy in the core brought by students. But as we're all well aware, the college has suffered a loss of enrollment by virtue of the enrollment cap that's been put in place by the federal government and by the province. And so we now see on the street the loss of that vitality that comes without students. We're doing work, as you know, with downtown businesses, downtown property owners, downtown residents, to take a look at issues of safety and security and vitality in the core. And what we consistently hear is that there is a need for high-quality amenities. So as you have family members or visitors that come to visit you, and you say, what do we want to do tonight? Do people think about going downtown to access the amenities? Formerly, we had 3 KCIs in the downtown core, including KWAG, the Symphony, and the museum. We're now down to 2. But our goal is to support organizations like the museum, the Conrad Center, the Registry Theater, Center in the Square, and KWAG, so that the downtown continues to be a destination. And so we believe in the moment that we're in right now, there's a justification for this investment to help the museum grow a stronger footing in terms of alternative revenue to drive the foot traffic that we so vitally need in the core.
I think all those points are really well succinctly put, and I think it's important for us to recognize why we are being told to take this recommendation within the time that's allowed. A lot of work has happened, countless staff hours have been put to get us to this stage. What level of commitment will ongoing staff involvement be with the museum to ensure that they can make this, or turn, it's not a matter of surviving the next 3 years, it's a matter of turning this around over the next 3 years to a point where they may not necessarily need our funding and diminish something that the region's doing, because that's a complete uncertainty, as sad as it is. How much involvement will staff have? Thank you.
Through the chair, I do believe it would probably be about the same or a little less. We will be attending board meetings. We would like to think that the spirit of collaboration will continue, probably not weekly meetings, but bi-weekly, just to keep on track, make sure they're prepared to do their quarterly check-ins financially and work alongside with them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Schneider, you're next.
Thank you, Mayor. Some good questions by Councillor Davey regarding the funding from the region, and we're going through a time now where there's a lot of uncertainty. We've got a new federal government or new prime minister, or one of those. The whole tariff issue is kind of confusing right now. So with all the uncertainty in funding, I mean, I hate to even go here, but we know that this building is a key to our downtown, and should the funding not come and things not be sustainable anymore, I wouldn't want to see that building sit empty for long. I would love to see staff work on some possible Plan Bs. Is that something we have the bandwidth for, to look into possibilities should things not be sustainable?
Through the chair, if that's something that council would like staff to look into, we can look at doing that.
I would, it just would scare me to, I really hope everything works out well, and I believe and trust and have optimism that it will. But just in case, I think it'd be wise to have some ideas and thoughts and plans and possibilities. So.
Okay, thank you.
Great.
And Mr. Chapman can certainly take that under advisement in terms of going forward. Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Johnson, you're up next.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I think my question is actually for you. If we do move forward with this evening, when would we be looking at having a council member on the board? And would they be a voting member?
So as per the report, the proposal suggests that there would be 2 members of the city on the board. One would be a voting, one would be a non-voting member. The council member would be a voting member, and the staff member would be a non-voting member on the board. The way the motion is written tonight, we can deal with it tonight if that's council's desire, or we're going to need to be dealing with at least one other appointment at our next meeting, which is Hydro, and I don't know if there's any others. And so we could also do it at the next meeting of council.
So are we going to vote on whether or not we do it tonight, or?
Well, I think that's, I mean, it's really up to council in terms of if we want to deal with that tonight or do it at the next meeting, which is, well, could be as early as next week.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, round 2. Councillor Davey.
No, I was just going to move a recommendation and have comments. So if Councillor Singh has questions, you can go ahead.
Okay.
I was going to do the same.
Okay, so go, Councillor Janot, questions, comments? Go ahead, Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. I'll move the recommendation, and I don't really care if council wants to deal with it next week, but if they want to deal with it tonight, I would move Councillor Stretch as the appointee, and again, I would like to comment at the appropriate time.
Yeah, you know what, I'll just ask for a seconder. Councillor Singh, you're seconding it, thank you. Go ahead, Councillor Davey, with your comments then.
Yeah, so I'm not sure if anyone remembers, but I think I was the sole member of council that voted against supporting the museum a year ago, only because I wanted the region of Waterloo to chime in with their support ahead of time, asking that they pay half of it. And again, they are our friends at the upper tier, but I have to say that I'm disappointed when I look at the history of the support for the museum in this instance. And the reality is they haven't increased their grant at all since 2016, as you heard from the delegation. Inflation in 2016 to today is about 28%. That's almost $100,000 more that the region of Waterloo should be supporting if they're serious about supporting the arts, because you cannot keep a static grant going forward in a situation where inflation has costs. The museum has to pay people. The museum has hard supplies they have to pay for. They have all the same costs that you know anyone else would in their industry. And if you're serious about sustainability, you have to have a built-in growth allocation. So I would encourage the museum delegates to appear before regional council at least every year before their budget, make this request, make them say no. Say the city of Waterloo is giving you a growth allocation. The city of Kitchener is giving you a growth allocation. You're $100,000 behind approximately since 2016. Like, raise these things with them and ask if they're serious about that support. And in that sense, I feel like because we are in a better financial position, that we're being taken advantage of in this situation, because they said no and we're saying yes. But the alternative is the museum closes, the museum dies. So here we are picking up the slack. And I do wish the museum all the best of luck in these next 3 years, but I also do want to be 100% clear with staff, and that my estimation is that if they do have significant funding pulled going forward, that our funding is also immediately pulled, because as the museum folks have said themselves, they are no longer viable. At that point, we have to ensure that our tax dollars are being protected. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor David. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was happy to move, and of course, I'm happy to second as well, as Councillor Davey has already moved the item. I wanted to say that first, because that I am in support of the staff recommendation. While at the same time, I don't want to mince my words in saying I think there is some general dissatisfaction of where we are, I think, overall operations model of the museum. It's not about the community benefit that the museum has provided, but I think it's a enterprise that was struggling well before matters of what's happening right now in the economy, the issues with the pandemic. Even prior to that, the operating model just was not sustainable in itself. And I think there are some serious changes that need to be done. And some of those changes may be transformational, that's uncomfortable. Some of those changes may not necessarily be as advisable to take on additional staff, but rather look inward and seeing how can the existing space be optimized and really leveraging on the local support, the philanthropic and corporate support that does exist in this community, and do better in that beyond the funding that's given by the City of Kitchener. I was talking about what the region should do. We can talk about it all night. The region should do a lot of things. The fact of the matter is, the city continues to, I think, pay and support the bulk of the arts and culture organizations in this region as a whole. We invest beyond upwards to above $2 million to the center of the square. I think even if you look at the rent that's being subsidized for $1, I think we're probably close to $500,000 for the museum, let alone what's being asked for additional $1 million over 3 years. And that's a substantive amount of investment and money to the arts and culture for a community our size. It is because this council has had prudent fiscal management of our taxes, and we have the ability. But that's not to say the region is doing enough. The region is absolutely not doing enough. So I do agree with the sentiment and the words shared by Councillor Davey that you should continue on placing that pressure on the region, because it's about the long-term viability and sustainability of the museum. So I'll come to my final point. Although, again, I did have that reservation or some issues with the overall operations of the museum and why you're in that financial situation, it's not lost on me the importance of this enterprise plays in this community. A city our size is blessed to have the museum to nurture and support our young minds in our community, to provide the arts and culture enrichment that we can promote and attract amazing talent to our community. That's what the museum does, along with a lot of the other enterprises. And one of the reasons why I think I have continued to support the arts and culture, because it's not just the arts and culture community, it's the overall community, because it supports jobs, it supports our economy, it manages our downtown, the vibrancy that is there that we need more of, and seeing a loss of the museum would be detrimental to those later points that are very important to me. And so that's why I think we do have to step up to the plate. It's an unfair responsibility. That's what I want to say. That's what Councillor Davey was saying, and I agree with his sentiment. I want to relate the same. It's an unfair responsibility that the City of Kitchener, and the bulk of it, is having to kind of do it alone, where others should be stepping up along as well. Because again, all the things I've already said are very important to our community. At the back behind us, we have support local, love local, promote local. The museum is local. And I think that's why more of not just the importance of the museum plays in our community, the importance of us supporting local right now, the downtown needing the support that it absolutely is desperate for. I think we can't afford not to do this. This is not good money after bad. But again, there's tremendous amount of expectation on the museum to make sure you guys turn this around. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Singh. Councillor Deneau.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to follow up with that. I wrote down earlier, region needs to step up, and I think that's a sentiment that most in this room would agree upon. And so for those who are watching at home from the region, it's time to do your part, because the museum's success and any benefits that comes to our city is just not into our city. It benefits the whole region. If you can have a family come down here and then pop up to St. Jacobs and pop up to Elmira or up to Waterloo, it's just not people staying downtown. And so all parties need to step up, whether it's federal, provincial, and make our arts a sustainable part of our community. I don't want the museum to close. My family, my girls have gone there many times. I've taken my residents there a number of times, and it is a great space. But again, as I asked earlier, I think things need to change from whether it's top down or down top. I think it could be successful, and I think it can thrive with the right direction. And I'm hoping that does happen over the next 3 years, because quite frankly, I don't want to see us back here in 3 years asking for more money. I really don't. And I can tell you, I'm hoping I'm here in 3 years, and I hope you don't come back in 3 years, because I hope you become a sustainable, a successful organization. I know you were going to come back every year to give us an update, but after that, I don't want to see you back in 3 years unless it's at the museum. And finally, you mentioned marketing dollars, and I know I've mentioned this to our staff a few times in our entertainment district department, sorry. This is the time to promote the heck out of this community or even the province to some of our friends south of the border. They'll get a bigger bang for their buck up here. And so if we need to invest in some marketing, Western New York or Michigan, I think this is a really, really good time, because less Canadians are traveling across the border. And so, they're more apt to stay here, but we want to bring in some of that tourism dollars from across the border, because they're more apt to spend. If they get $1.50 for their dollar, why wouldn't you do that? And so I highly encourage some south of the border marketing, and I think, I hope that pays off for you guys in the end, but also for the city as well. So I will support the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Deneau. Councillor Stretch.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to echo some of some of my well-worded colleagues. I share many of the same thoughts and some of the same concerns, but also am prepared to support this. I do absolutely, like many of them have said, think that this is an integral piece to the downtown, especially at this crucial time. And I want to thank Councillor Davey for moving my name forward, and I would be happy to sit on the board if that's what we vote on. So I think, to echo Councillor Singh, I think there is some work to be done, and I'm looking forward to hopefully working with you.
Thank you, Councillor Stretch. I'm going to go to Councillor Schneider next, because I accidentally turned him on and off. So go ahead, Councillor Schneider.
Thank you, Mayor Vivanovic. Thank you so much for the work you've done on this and the work that you do. I know you're not on the board unless you care deeply about the institution. So thank you so much for your passion, your time, your effort, your caring, your desire to make our downtown a vibrant place and the museum a wonderful space. I want to thank our team, Andrea, Jeremy, Corey, Dan, Mayor Barry, thank you for working together and getting this together. We do want the museum to succeed. And if I could give you one piece of advice or one wish, it would be for engagement. Find out what this community wants. Our team here do a wonderful job of engagement when it comes to our strategic plan. So we know the core values that our citizens value for the coming years. A connected city, green city, economically thriving, caring, and building a better city together. And Mayor Vivanovic always stresses the word together. And I think through engagement, if you find out what this community wants from the museum and their voices are heard, they'll say, this is the museum. I can tell you from engagement on our Parks Network project in my ward, we spent a lot of time doing engagement, getting out to the parks, finding out what people wanted in their parks. And when those parks were completed and we had the celebration, the comments were incredible. Like, I asked for a dog park. There's a dog park there. There's places to sit. Now there's the trail around the playground equipment, so I can have my child in a stroller and watch the other one who's on the swings. So it's not saying that, you know, what you're doing hasn't been resonating, but I'm saying with engagement, finding out what this community wants and reflecting those wishes and those values and those desires in what you do, I think will really help impact and people's civic pride and their attendance at the museum. So, you know, it's a big challenge ahead of you. I believe that together, as Mayor Vanford likes to say, that we can accomplish this together. So I would just encourage you to reach out and do that engagement. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Schneider. Councillor Chapman.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for what you do. I think it's a great service to the community. And I actually feel quite reassured with what you're proposing, you know, to use this money to help to apply for more grants and for the overall development and marketing model that you're hoping to accomplish through it. So yes, while there's emphasis here on the region stepping up, if there are other sources of funding that you come across over the next couple of years, I think, to me, that I feel very reassured by what's being proposed here. And I do think that as a key cultural institution, the downtown needs you, right? To bring people downtown and that's why I brought up the BIA. I think those connections with what's already happening downtown are really important to make sure that people might come to the museum and then go to a restaurant, or so that there's that intersectional, benefit for everybody. So, yeah, I'll be supporting the motion, and thank you for coming.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Chapman. Are there any additional comments? If not, I'll just make a few of my own. I too want to thank the group of you for coming in this evening, as well as the board members who aren't here, but I know are either watching or have been supportive over the process over the past year, as we all tried to work together through all of this. I want to acknowledge the contributions and the leadership of our staff team. Coria, Jeremy, and Andrea over the past year. I know this has been a significant amount of work throughout that time period, as you worked on a weekly basis with the group to support them to get to the point that we're here this evening, as well as Mr. Chapman for his leadership throughout that process. And I also want to thank this council, because I know this is an issue that this council has felt passionate both in terms of the importance of what arts and culture plays in our community, the importance of investment in arts and culture, but also passionate about, for example, frustration, as even you've heard this evening, around some of our funding partners like the region and so on, and what their ongoing role will be in these types of investments going forward, and passionate about ensuring that the museum is truly maximizing the opportunities that are presented to it, and serving the needs of the community in a rigorous way. And I think tonight is a reflection of the journey that we've been on over the past year, and the work that has led to a report that has been recommended by staff and appears to have the support of council going forward. I think a number of things have been reiterated this evening. The importance of the museum as a key cultural institution. Sadly, our community lost one already, and it would be a tragedy to see the loss of another one. And hopefully, this investment will provide the foundation that's necessary to make sure that doesn't happen. Recognizing that this is an effort that's being undertaken as we no doubt go through some challenging times, in the next little while, but we're also a resilient community, and the museum's a resilient organization, and I believe that, much like we got through COVID and other challenges in the history of the community, we will do that again in this instance. I don't think the impact to the downtown can be underestimated, and how critical that is at this point in time. Mr. Chapman, referenced some of the work that's being done. We know that there's been some great successes. Certainly, for example, all the people who are living downtown has been a great success, but we also know that, there's some broader global issues that are playing out in terms of hybrid work arrangements, and now the situation with the tariffs and so on. And the declining student numbers, at least for a short period of time. Hopefully that'll get revisited by the next federal government at the appropriate time. But all that to say that, the museum is more critical than ever in terms of the downtown's well-being, both from an economic point of view, but I also need to speak just briefly about the importance of it from the perspective of attracting and retaining talent in our community, because people who do come here and want to live here, and more importantly, young families who want to come here and raise their families here, they're looking for the kinds of amenities that often, sadly, are only found in the largest of urban centers, places like Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver, and I think we have a lot to be proud of as a community in the investments that we've made. When I think about, the Center in the Square, the Registry Theatre, the Conrad Center, which was made possible because of the generosity of the Conrad family, the museum, the auditorium, and all of these, and what the role they play in terms of part of that story. It's, I guess I hit my 5-minute mark. I'm a little passionate. I'll just, it's the beauty of having the button here. But no, with all that, I'll just say, good job by everyone, and thank you to everyone for your comments and passion about this evening. So with that, the motion has been moved and a recorded vote has been requested. So this is the recommendation that's in the report, and includes the motion. It includes Councillor Stretch was part of the motion that Councillor Davey made. So this is the recommendation on page 20 of the agenda. Ayo, you're looking to vote or did you want to speak? Councillor O'Dooney?
I was just looking to vote.
Okay, thank you. So we'll do the recorded vote now, and then we'll call on you, Councillor O'Dooney, in a moment. Did we lose you? Did we lose Councillor O'Dooney? Oh, we're good? Okay. And that is carried unanimously by all those in attendance. Sorry? Oh, so, yeah, Councillor O'Dooney says yes. Okay, great. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for being here this evening. We look forward to the journey ahead. Okay, we'll now move on to the balance of the agenda, and we'll move into reports of the committees. Heritage Kitchener, Councillor Chapman, if I can ask you to bring that recommendation forward. Or
Yeah.
recommendations.
It's been moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Michaud that the report of Heritage dated March 4th, 2025, listed as items 7.1A to 7.1C on the agenda this date be adopted.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? There being none, it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. We'll then move on to the report of the Finance and Corporate Services Committee. Councillor Davey.
Thank you. It's moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Johnston that these 6 items from Finance and Corporate Services Committee be adopted.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? That too is carried. We'll now move on to Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee. Councillor Singh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. All the items arising from the Planning and Strategic Initiatives Committee are moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Chapman.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments? There being none, all those in favor? Any opposed? That too is carried. Thank you, Council. We'll now move on to unfinished business. Any new business? Any mayoral business and updates? There is one notice of motion from Councillor Stretch that's under this item, and this is to amend the date for the council meeting from April 28th, 2025 to May 5th, and that's largely to accommodate the federal election. It's moved by Councillor Stretch. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Deneau, thank you. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. The only other thing that I will share from a mayoral business point of view, because the tariff issue will come up in a moment in under report of the Committee of the Whole. But I will note that the region is dealing with its transit master plan tomorrow at Regional Council. There will be an opportunity for there'll be a request to add an additional meeting of the community to respond to the draft plan on, I believe, the 16th of April. And then it'll be finally ratified at the May meeting of Region. I have suggested to regional staff that they do come and do a presentation here so that at least our council is aware of what's being proposed. This transit plan will provide a 10-year plan in terms of how the region would proceed, subject to annual budget approvals in terms of transit growth going forward. So with that, questions and answers, are there any? There being none, we'll move into the bylaws. Do I have a mover of the bylaws? Councillor Singh, seconded by Councillor Michaud. Thank you. Madam Clerk, apologies, I forgot to ask before I did that. Are there any additional bylaws?
So through the chair, there are no additional bylaws for first and second reading. There will be at third reading.
Okay, thank you. So it has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Council. We'll now take a motion to go into Committee of the Whole, moved by Councillor Johnson, seconded by Councillor Schneider. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Councillor Johnson, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Is there a mover for the balance of administrative reports listed on the Committee of the Whole agenda? And there's 2 reports on there. Thank you, Councillor Schneider. All those in favor? Or are there any questions or comments from members of council? Thank you, Councillor Davey.
Yeah, thank you. Just on the corporate printing procurement, just want to confirm it is for 3 years. I don't want to presuppose what happens when the non-mail-out billing, sorry, I'm struggling with my words today, non-mail-out billing comes back to council later. I think it's actually going to be before the summer break. I just want to make sure that this contract is flexible in this situation, that we do end up printing or sending less than anticipated.
Mr. Lautenbach?
So through the chair, the printing costs associated with this contract are on a per bill basis. So even if the number of bills does decline or whatever action comes forward, when we bring that back, it wouldn't impact the contract itself. We still need to have printing services in place, and that's why we're recommending the 3-year term.
Perfect. I do have a question as well, unless there's anyone else in the queue, on the procurement bylaw threshold. Sorry.
Yes,
Madam
go
Chair.
ahead.
Okay, thank you. Just wanted to be clear on this. Like, I understand why we're doing this. It's kind of an emergency, but there is a significant bump up from, for some of our items, from $120,000 to $250,000. And it just, again, it's the delegation of authority, which, I mean, I'm worried about our governance role. So I guess I would ask if staff would have any issue if we were to revisit this in a year's time, or if you think that my concern is unwarranted, you can state that now as well. But I'd just like to try it for a year and have it come back and have us reconfirm that if possible.
Mr. Lonbach, sorry. I can't see anything beyond the chair.
So through the chair, the change that's proposed is related to sole sourcing in terms of delegate authority to the chief procurement officer. Anything that is over and above the 133 would come back to council and be reported on quarterly as part of the report that comes forward. So I would suggest that the number of times that we do sole source is very small. There's one example this evening related to printing services. But we would be committed to obviously reporting anything that does come back, and you'd be able to see what items were actually delegated authority to sole source, which again, it's very small the number of times we do that, but it does provide flexibility, particularly around things like fleet vehicles. As a good example, if we had to procure from an existing lot right now, this would allow us to do that quickly without having to come back to council. So my recommendation would be to increase the limit to 250, and we'll be committed to reporting back to council. And if you saw an issue with it in 1 year's time, certainly we could report back at that point as those quarterly reports come forward for your review.
Okay, I'm fine with that. And one last thing, if I could, I think with your permission, Madam Chair, I don't want to take it out of information, but just want to comment quickly on the year-end variance, which is final now, and just, kudos to staff and to our council as well. Another surplus in the books after many, many years running, with the exception of the COVID years as well. So I just thought that should be noted. Thank you.
That's wonderful, Councillor Davey. Yes, Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair Johnson. Yeah, no, I just wanted to briefly comment on the procurement bylaw threshold update. So this was something that Council will recall we introduced at our joint media event a few weeks back, where we were updating the community on a number of initiatives that we were undertaking as a community with respect to the current tariff and trade situation that has been developing almost on a daily basis. Sometimes it felt in those initial days on an hourly basis. Fortunately, that seems to have slowed down a little bit, but as we know, there's obviously a number of concerning actions that have been taken by the U.S. administration, and both our national, provincial, and territorial governments continue to tackle those issues. Earlier this evening, councillors referenced some of the branding that's in the council chamber as part of our Support Local campaign, and I do want to acknowledge the work of both our OMC team as well as the team in corporate communications, who worked very hard and very quickly to get that together. Worked with some of our local vendors in order to get all of this in place, and I do know that it's generated a lot of positive response. As folks know, we did have some swag on that day in terms of sweatshirts or quarter zips, and there's been a lot of requests from the community as to the ability to acquire that clothing, and so staff have been working on that, and we'll have hopefully something to say in the not too distant future how community members can in fact purchase their own to support the community going forward. I think a couple other things that are probably worth mentioning. We're just in the midst of scheduling another meeting of the local mayors and CAOs and economic development directors to continue the collaboration and the work that's been getting done going forward. in terms of this. And just very briefly, I think some of you are likely aware that Tony Lamantia and some of the team from Waterloo Region EDC was in Germany last week at the Hanover Messe. The Hanover Messe is a large manufacturing trade show in Germany, and this year happened to be the year where Germany partnered with Canada as their showcase and partner country. Just as all of this was happening in terms of the latest announcements by the U.S. administrations around tariffs. And I think in conversations with Mr. Lamantia, it's clear that the Europeans are very eager to work with us and explore how to grow trade opportunities and investment opportunities between between countries in Europe and as well as Canada. And that needs to be part of our ongoing efforts going forward. And so I think that's something that we'll be hearing more about in the weeks and months ahead. So that's all I have. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Yeah, thank you for those updates, Mr. Mayor. I would also like to say a huge thank you to our staff. The reports that you've been providing to the Economic Development Advisory Council have been wonderful and very much appreciated. I would also reiterate what Mr. Mayor commented about the work that the WEDC is doing. Communitech's been doing some really great work around the tariffs as well. The KW and Cambridge Chambers have been also running a number of webinars and things to keep the business community updated. So it's pretty amazing to see everybody pull together so well on this. But truly, it's kind of a made in Waterloo Region approach to it, and really proud to see that. So thank you. Not seeing any other questions or comments. Is there, I will call for the vote on the administrative reports, on the two reports here. All those in favor? Opposed? And that is carried. Thank you. And now we'll move on.
I'll move that the committee rise and report.
Move the committee rise and report.
So I'm moving that, and now you say all those in favor.
All those in favor? Okay, and that is carried.
Okay. Councillor Johnson, if you can move the motion from Committee of the Whole? Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we move out of committee, yes. Move out of Committee of the
If you want
Whole.
to read that. So it's been moved by Councillor Johnson.
Yes, and seconded by Councillor Stretch, that the proceedings on the recorded pecuniary interests and conflicts taken in the meeting at the Committee of the Whole held this day and is attached hereto and forming part of these minutes be, and the same are hereby adopted and confirmed.
Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Madam Clerk, I believe there are some additional late starter bylaws.
So through the chair, now that we've completed Committee of the Whole, there is the procurement bylaw to be added as a late starter for third reading.
Sorry, which bylaw?
The procurement bylaw?
Oh, okay, thank you. Do I have a mover? Councillor Singh, seconded by Councillor Michaud. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. And with that, motion to adjourn, Councillor Stretch, Councillor Chapman, all those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Councillor O'Dooney, for joining us virtually.